So hello and welcome back to the Potted RV. My name is Constance, and if you saw my post this, I think it was last Friday, I have a bit of an infestation with squash bugs and some other things. I also have a bit of a problem with flies. They're not damaging to my plants, they're just annoying. And we'll get into how I'm going to go about dealing with that, as well as in my last video I showed that I do have powdery mildew starting to appear, so we're going to go over the only option I've ever found that somewhat works to deal with powdery mildew, so we'll be getting into that soon. But for right now, we're going to go ahead and start with the squash bugs and the other bugs. And again, I do want to give a bit of a shout out and thank you to another YouTuber. She's the one that recommended this to me, and that's Captain Jack's Dead Bug. This is listed for organic gardening, so for those of you that are very particular about organic gardening, this is listed as being safe for that. So when I did the math on it, I did a small thing of this a while back, but I'm going to go ahead and do it to where I can actually spray down the leaves, because this is not specifically listed for squash bugs, but when I've read other people's user reviews on it, it does work for the nymphs, which is predominantly what I'm seeing. I've seen a couple of adults and I didn't think too much of it because it was only a few. Doesn't take more than a few. I want to go ahead and put it into this. This is a misting. They listed it as a multi-purpose sprayer. It's going to mist predominantly. I will have to adjust it. I have another one, but this one is the one I use for seedlings, and I'm perfectly okay with putting the mixture that I put in for powdery mildew, but I'm not okay with anything else going in it besides water. And that's because for powdery mildew, the best choice that I have found for that is cow's milk, this is my son's. We lost the top of it, so I use it for this. I have water already in here. This is a 1-to-1 mixture, and I don't mind putting milk in these. I don't want to put anything else in it. Milk's fine, but anything else is just might damage seedlings if I use it later on. So this one is water and non-damaging chemicals. So, like I said, it's a misting pump, and because I have a lot of powdery mildew going on, so I'll just dump that in there. And when we get to that, I will be spraying down the milk mixture first, because a lot of the plants that have powdery mildew are the same ones that have issues with squash bugs. And I want this, because it's not a chemical, it's just a milk mixture. I want this directly on the fungus that causes powdery mildew, because that's what it is. It's a fungus. It's a fungal infection. I want that directly on it so that it can do what it does. And this I'm going to go to probably treating once a week. I do not anymore. I had only been using it sporadically here and there when I needed to, but I don't over top water anymore. I don't have to anymore, whereas before I was having to because of how thick some of these have gotten. So it wasn't allowing me to get underneath very well, whereas with the irrigation system, which we're still adjusting here and there, and that's fine. But with that, it underwaters. So with the exception of when this rains, it should be just fine. It should be just fine to go ahead and use once a week instead of every other day. This is the concentrate. They do sell it already pre-mixed. I keep a garden, and I have for many years. I figured going with the concentrate is kind of my best bet, just because I do keep a garden on a regular basis. I had noticed that it does state to not apply it to something. I hadn't noticed that before. Not sure why it specifically applies to the state of Georgia, but it does say not to use it on broccoli, Chinese cabbage, which is bok choy, collards, kale, mustard greens, mustard spinach, and I'm not sure what rape greens are, but that's what it says. Not entirely sure why it's specifically to the state of Georgia, but that is what it says. Otherwise, it does specifically state that it is perfectly good for cucurbits, such as the problem I'm having, which is both my squashes, which are both zucchini squashes, as well as my cucumbers. And I'm going to go ahead and watch, because more than likely they're going to move to my melons and my winter squash if I don't treat them too. So I'll be watching those pretty carefully. Those are very young plants, so I don't really want them going that direction if I can avoid it. I did notice that I forgot the measuring spoons. This right here is 48 ounces. When I did the conversion, it's close to a tablespoon and a half. It's a little over a tablespoon and a half. I'm figuring a tablespoon and a half should be fine. Should be fine. It does give the measurements out if you're going to do it by the concentrate, and I will put a link down to this below, just as I did with the other video, and links to these. Probably not the same exact ones I have, because there's so many of them, and I typically don't see any reason why you need to necessarily go with the most expensive one. So depends on which one is most cost effective. That's the one I'll link. They all do the same thing, so I don't see any reason why, if you follow my links, to end up having people spend more. It's not something I see a point in. Yes, if you follow my links and it's an affiliate link, I do receive a commission from it. I still would rather you save your money and get something that does the same exact thing. That's just how I am personally. So I'm going to go get the measuring spoons and fill this with water. I will go ahead and keep this specifically. This will just keep insecticides in it. I'm not going to put anything else in it. I don't use this style sprayer for liquid fertilizers. I don't. I have a different style sprayer for that. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get those, and I will be right back. Okay, so hopefully I've got the camera adjusted right. So I went ahead and filled this full. I don't know if it's going to pick it up on the camera or not, but I filled it full. And basic measuring spoons. I use plastic ones because I don't care if I damage them. I don't use these for food or anything like that. I just kind of picky about that. Anything I use in the garden, I don't use in my kitchen. I always been really, really nervous. So I'm going to go ahead and bring you down a little bit. Maybe get you to where you can see what I'm doing here. Okay, so we're just going to add a mint to grab my gloves. This is something that I would normally, and I do recommend, using gardening gloves, but if I go back in the house right now, my son is going to be up my butt. And my husband is trying his best to occupy the kiddo so I can get this recorded. So, and because it's a little over half, I'm just going to kind of eyeball it to half and then drop that in there. That way I don't have anything weird going on. So, and I will end up taking a magic marker. I use acrylic markers, and this one's lit, just not like to close down. I will end up writing on it insecticide only, so that I don't use it for anything else. Even though it's an entirely different color than the one I normally use, it's just me being on the safe side. It's kind of something I'm kind of picky about. These are really, really simple, and the really neat thing about these, and both of them, bringing them both into view, both of them have it. It's, if you want to continue to use it, you can push this in, and it will just continually spray. So you just move it around until it loses pressure. So it makes it a little bit easier, and it's going to make it a lot easier with me trying to do this with the phone at the same time, because I do use my phone to record videos. It'll make it a little bit easier trying to hold the camera in one hand and do the spraying in another, so you can still see what I'm doing, because especially with the insecticide, you want to treat both the upper and lower side of the leaves and pretty much really hose it down. Same thing with powdery mildew, because it usually starts on the underside of the leaf and slowly spreads to the upper side of the leaf. So we're going to go ahead and start with the powdery mildew treatment, which this is just cow's milk. From what I've been told, any animal milk will work. It's the proteins in the animal milk that helps treat it. I've only ever used cow's milk. I do know that your vegan options don't work. If you try to use plant-based milks, they don't work. It does have to be an animal sourced milk, but a 1-to-1 ratio is what I use. I've seen some people that use a 1-to-2 ratio. I've never tried it. I've always done 1-to-1. So let's go ahead and get into that. So to give you an idea before I spray it down, this right here where it looks kind of hazy and funky colored, that's powdery mildew. And you can really tell when you look under the leaves, this is not the best one to show, unfortunately, because it's only barely visible. This one right here, where it's only starting to, I wish the camera picked it up a little better. The underside of the leaf is covered in little buggy bugs. I had not noticed that. So the Captain Jacks will help treat that too, and that might be the reason why I'm having a lot of problems with I thought it was lack of fertilization with the cucumbers. I think they're being attacked, actually. So we're going to go ahead and hosing it down, and it's just literally hosing. It always looks so weird when you do it, but it really does help. And I'm trying to keep you in the view and see what I'm doing at the same time. So but we're going to really drench it down. And that's one of the reasons I like this particular style, is because I can actually not have to be overly precise. And come through and do even the baby leaves that look okay. And I'm going to try to get it underneath. That's one of the reasons why I like this, is because if you look at the spray, it sprays up in a 360-degree range. So when I put it up underneath, it is getting the upper of the leaves underneath them just as much as it is the down leaves. And I'm going to do the same thing with my poor attacked and mistreated squash. This is my zucchini squash, and it is really hurting. And I'm hoping if I trim away the dead and I'll be staking it up, I will probably have lost. And I'm going to stop the video real quick. Actually, I might be able to do this without stopping it, so hold on. Alright, so I fixed the sprayer, so we're going to go ahead and actually spray down everything. And I'm going to spray everything down, not just. And with these, you want to make sure you get up underneath the leaves, because that's where the nips and eggs will be. And I come through and really get into the beans, because as you can see, if you look back here, my beans are being attacked by something and I don't know what. So if I want beans this year, it's time to start treating. And I'm really going to heavily go through the entire garden, because I'm having even my eggplant back here is being attacked. So far, my winter squash is not, although I am going to pull this one. It's going to go bye-bye. It's not as healthy as the other two. I'm figuring I'm going to go with the bigger one, but I will only keep one of those. So, and I'm really proud of this, so I'm going to show you. My bell pepper has already had one decent harvest of 6 peppers off of it. It is now throwing whole bunches more, so I'm excited about that. So I'll take you along with me while we finish up doing a treatment for bugs, because I don't like using harsh chemicals. Neem oil is an option. A lot of people use neem oil. The problem I had and why I don't use it is because in Arizona it is an oil, and when I've used it in Arizona, I had major problems with the sun actually causing sun scald on my plants. If I used it on them, the next day I would have a lot of problems with plants that were seriously damaged. I mean, in all honesty, this hibiscus doesn't need it. This hibiscus is nearly as tall as me now. Doesn't need it, but I'm going to treat it anyways. Here's my tiny Tim tomato. But as you can see, my my poor sweet potatoes are really getting attacked now. They did not look like this a couple days ago. The video that I posted was done only a couple of days ago. Alright, so this is actually day 2 on the treating of the infestation issue with whiteflies, and I'm going to show you. It rained last night, so I have to go back through. I would normally do this again in a week, but I can see them all over this plant, and underneath they're actually hiding where I didn't realize this vine was coming down a little bit more. So they're not on the lower part of the vine, but they are massively on that section right there. So this again is the Captain Jack's mixture that I had before, and I'm going to, and I don't know if the camera's picking them up because of how small they are, but they are literally flying everywhere. because they're intense. I'm going to have to be really, really meticulous. Although I will say that just the one treatment of the milk has made a massive difference in this particular plant. However, this one back here might be surrendering to the void. This is the one that we actually pulled, and yes, that is a grasshopper on it, but we actually pulled the squash bugs off of. It was on this little one here. So I may lose this plant. That is okay. I'm perfectly okay accepting that. I am not overly impressed with seeing whiteflies on my little eggplant. This is all wind damage from last night. So this one I'm also going to go through. Yes, it is very yellowing, and it's actually greening out. It was more yellow than it is now. So we're going to go ahead and treat this one as well. And yes, there's definitely whitefly on it. So we're going to really dig into the underside, because that is where they like to hide, is the underside of the leaves. The San Marzans we went ahead and pulled out because they're just beyond saving. I was unable to get even a single fruit off of those without having massive problems. So we're going to go ahead and treat this one as well. Now, I didn't say this in the other video, but I am going to say the other parts of it that I recorded. I am going to say this. When it comes to using Captain Jacks, honeybees are very, very important. They really are. And Captain Jacks is safe to use for honeybees as long as you use it in the morning when they're not very active, and in the evenings when they are going back to their hive to sleep. Dried on the plant, it doesn't hurt honeybees. If they get into it while it's still wet, it can. So my advice with it is to definitely use it early in the morning or late in the evening, like now as the sun's going down, is best to use it so that you're not affecting the honeybees. I'm seeing a whole lot less flies, still a heavy infestation of whitefly, and I'm probably going to go ahead and treat these until I get this population down considerably. I'll probably be treating them every other day, if not every day. I'm treating them again because it rained last night, so what I did treat them with is being washed off. I'm going to go ahead and keep hitting them until I finally get the whitefly infestation under control, because my eyesight is so crappy and these guys are a millimeter. Some of them are a little more than a millimeter, but they're very, very tiny. Because of that, they went very unnoticed for quite a while. I had noticed some little flying, but I've also got a frog that lives in here, and I really didn't want to affect his home. But this is something that it's so out of hand that it's got to be treated. I can't ignore it. I wish I could, but we have found the frog, and I have him in the hibiscus where he can collect all his flies and bugs that he wants, but he's not being affected by the treatment of this. As you can see, there has been some serious destruction of this bed. The beans look fine. The tomatoes look fine. This cucumber is actually nowhere near as yellow as it was, but is still yellowing. This cucumber is greening out a bit more, but they are still heavily covered in whitefly. But both of the zucchinis are in very dire states. So I'm definitely having a massive problem here. I do realize that this could be from the wind, and why this one is still greening and doing okay is because it's much lower to the ground than this one over here. But like I said, there was so much pest pressure, and it's only happened in the last couple of weeks. And this bed, I had alyssum growing in this bed specifically to help with the pest pressure. So I'm still having pest pressure, and that's with the alyssum. I will probably do marigolds in next time. More than likely, I'll go ahead and do marigold and then cut them up and mix them into the soil. Although I don't see an issue with root knot nematodes. I haven't seen any problems with those. But it's just one of those things. It's one of the hazards of gardening. It's fun, but you will get pests. Now, this right here, and I'm not going to spray it because I don't want it to hurt, is not something I want messed with. That is either a spider's web, and I think it's a spider's web, but I can't look at it close enough, and I don't want to mess with it too much, or it's an egg sac, although I don't see a defending spider, so I think it's just a web. But I don't want to have the spiders bothered. And then this tomato, it looks really rough. This is the one that I keep having problems with, blossom end rot. And if you watched my failures video, it is a failure. When I can't get it under control, that's my view as a failure. I view successes and failures in my garden based off of whether or not I pull a harvest from it. 5 little tomatoes that were nowhere near the size that they should have been, I consider that a failure, although I do have my other ones. This one is definitely the Roma, the bush Roma tomatoes, so I'm looking forward to that one. I'm hoping that one's the Pride tomatoes. Hoping. But now that it's not being overly crowded out by that one, it might be better. Now, I know that this pest video is going to be really, really long, so I'm going to cut this short. Just in case I decide to put this ending on instead of the other one. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and I hope to see you on the next one.